Cape Town is making headlines because of a severe water crisis threatening to cut off supply to over 4 million people. But it's not the only one that stares at a dry spell. The clock is ticking for at least 11 other cities across the world, including one from India, that may run out of water in the near future. Here's more.
After a severe water crisis has hit South Africa's capital, Cape Town, the drought-stricken city is expected to run completely out of water in 3 months. This date has been dubbed as Day Zero. Hundreds of Cape Town residents are now being forced to stand in long queues to stock up on whatever little water they can get their hands on.
I think there's going to be chaos. I mean, I hope Day Zero never comes, but I can see with people wanting to come here and the desperation for water, I think we're still going to realize that water is more valuable than oil. I don't want to be too critical, but I think better plans should have been put in place a long time already.
We use our shower water, which we put into the toilets, and of course we wash in a little basin, and we bucky wash when we take a shower. So that has been a major change for us.
But Cape Town, it seems, is just the tip of the iceberg. A quarter of the world's major cities are facing water shortages. 11 major cities are most likely going to run out of drinking water soon. Some of the cities are capitals, while others are major financial or tourist hubs. But this does not make them immune to a looming water crisis. One of Brazil's biggest cities, Sao Paulo, is the most likely to run out of water in the near future. It went through a similar ordeal as Cape Town in 2015 when the main reservoir in Sao Paulo fell below the 4% capacity level. Taking the second spot is the Indian IT hub of Bengaluru. Not a single lake in the city is suitable for drinking or bathing due to severe water pollution. Toxic froth has become an all too familiar sight in Bengaluru's largest lakes, the Bellandur and Varthur. And believe it or not, last month a massive fire broke out in the Bellandur lake that raged for 7 hours. Property development projects and outdated drainage systems make matters worse for Bengaluru residents. Poor air quality is not the only issue Beijing residents have to deal with. China is home to almost 20% of the world's population, but has only 7% of the world's fresh water. Official figures from 2015 showed that 40% of Beijing's surface water was polluted to the point of not being useful even for agriculture or industrial use. A surprising entry on the list is London. Though the city is known for its overcast and rainy weather, it gets only half the rainfall New York receives. London draws 80% of its water from rivers Thames and River Lea. The coastal city of Miami is a tropical paradise, but its seawater is the exact reason behind the looming water crisis. An early 20th century project to drain nearby swamps had an unforeseen result. Water from the Atlantic Ocean contaminated the Biscayne aquifer.
It's the worst drought, in fact, in over a century in the South African city of Cape Town. It rained yesterday, but it hasn't mitigated the seriousness of the problem they face. Fearing the worst, in fact, residents of the port city are preparing for the so-called zero day when they will run out of water. Take a look at what their life looks like.
As Cape Town suffers the region's worst drought in over a century, locals here are preparing for the worst. The city has announced that it could be forced to shut off the taps in the middle of May, a deadline that has become known as Day Zero. Meanwhile, anxious residents are doing what they can to reduce their daily water consumption, collecting an additional 25-litre ration at one of the city's natural springs.
We've just sort of had to reconfigure our lives in a way that there is no municipal water, because that's what it is required of us in terms of preparing for Day Zero. Opening that tap and there's nothing.
But in some parts of the city, like this informal settlement, not having running water is a fact of life. Residents here rely on communal taps. While Cape Town's wealthier areas account for 65% of the city's overall water consumption, these densely populated communities only use around 5%. And when the taps are off, it is more than just an inconvenience.
Oh, it's terrible. Because sometimes there's not even a note when they shut out the water is shut out. You just when you go to the tap and the tap switch off, and you are working, the kids supposed to go to school, but the toilet, so the hygiene as well is affecting us because we don't have water to flush the shared toilet.
Under police supervision, residents will have to queue for their daily 25 litres water ration. Officials say plans are in place to protect those who are most vulnerable. Cape Town city centre and hospitals will remain on the municipal water supply, while old age homes and orphanages will have water delivered via large tankers.
A little bit more push from everybody's side, we can avoid day zero altogether. And I can tell you, nobody will be happier than myself and the disaster management officials in the water department. Because even if day zero ran perfectly, the misery and the social and financial impact on the city would be devastating.
The Theewaterskloof Dam, a reservoir supplying the city with water, has already dropped to 12.5% in recent months, and experts warn that anything below 10% could be unusable. In an attempt to tap into any possible alternative sources, the city has even started to drill boreholes to make use of aquifers, although the environmental impact of these schemes is yet unknown.